This is Loose Change. Please observe the fine print. Hi, I'm Jim Evans. Thanks for joining us. We've got more than a fine show. We've got a great show, as we always do, with a great guest, so stick around for that. As we like to do top of the program, touch on a few things that are going on, and we'll start with the weather. Has it been cold? Yeah, it's been a couple days here and there where it's backed off some, but overall, not just around here, through a good portion of the country, it's been so cold that pretty much most everyone has been rooting for the heat. Nobody does that. The travel industry has issued an advisory for heavy travel through the holidays and even into the new year. And you have to take the weather into account as well. And on top of that, travel agents in New York City have issued a strong warning. They're telling people, no matter the circumstances, do not take the jets, whatever you do. It's gone even worse for the New York Giants. How bad has their season gone? So bad that their head coach, Tom Coughlin, has taken the entire team to Broadway so they can see plays that actually work. I've been told to do that here. What else has been going on? From the unusual file, which is pretty much most everything, I guess. Not long ago in Pennsylvania, there was a car full of clowns that got into a car accident. Fortunately, nobody was injured, but a car full of clowns. I mean, who knew members of Congress rode in the same car? Hey, we got a great guest, as I mentioned. PJ Fecko joins us next. It's right here on Loose Change. Stick with us.
Armstrong Local Programming features our community like no one else. Meet your friends and neighbors at special events. Find the perfect pet. Celebrate our region's rich history or enjoy our natural wonders. Armstrong Local Programming is available online, on demand, and on your local Armstrong channel. Find the complete program schedule at ArmstrongOneWire.com. Local programming, exclusively from Armstrong. One Wire, infinite possibilities.
Welcome back to Loose Change. I'm Jim Evans, and I have the great pleasure to be joined right now by the head football coach at Cardinal Mooney, PJ Fecko. Coach, thanks for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
Well, you know what? Since the season's still kind of fresh in our minds, let's talk about this year's team before we get into anything else. And, you know, despite the disappointing ending, as it were, still a great season, and you have to be really, really proud of what your guys achieved. Talk about that.
I am extremely proud. You know, I think that it was a special group of individuals that made up a really special team. You know, I think that most recently through the playoff run, things were well documented with, you know, all the, you know, the print and the news media that occurred. But all the way through, you know, I think our seniors had done a great job of providing some very positive, strong leadership. Creating a positive chemistry and a chemistry that was a great formula for success. And I think it was done so in a manner where they led by example, and it was all the way from the sophomore class all the way through the senior. It was a total team effort.
This group, and I think I may have mentioned this to you before, I thought this year's team, as much as any, really epitomized, you know, the Youngstown, the Mahoning Valley, that blue-collar work ethic, go out and, you know, grind away and get it done.
Yep, it was. They were exactly that. You know, practice was an absolute pleasure to go to each and every day. There was no pulling teeth. There was no extra motivation needed. I mean, guys understood what it took to be successful and what it takes in the whole process of things, and they went out there each and every day with the attitude that they were going to work hard, and they ultimately wanted to get better. You know, as we all know, if you're not getting better every day, you're getting worse. And I think that our guys understood that, never went through the motions, never took anything for granted, and really went out and got better each and every day, and that was a big part of their success.
Well, coming up short in the championship game still probably stings a little bit, and again, we talked about this as well. Win or lose, there are so few people that have the opportunity to get to that level, you know, doing this. And those guys will have that, despite what happened at the end, the rest of their lives to hold on to.
Absolutely. You're talking about, all these teams across the state of Ohio. Their goal each and every summer when they set out is to reach the state finals and win a state championship. And I think that, it's obvious that not many get to do it. This senior class experienced 2 state championship games. As sophomores, they were fortunate enough to win the state championship, and then as seniors, obviously get there and fall a little short. But it's really, a special experience that they're fortunate to get. I think that, people in this area take it for granted sometimes because ourselves and some other schools and programs in our area have had so much success in the playoffs. But it really is a unique experience for these guys that they carry with them for a long time. We've been fortunate at Mooney since the football season of 2004, every player that's played at Cardinal Mooney from there until now has participated and won a state championship. So it's really neat to be a part of. Our guys understand how difficult it is to get there, and they sure don't take anything for granted.
Talk about that, having that experience, previous experience, especially for this group, having been at the state championship level, and then preparing for that stage again. That makes a difference.
It does. They know what to expect. I think that there's a couple levels of thinking with making it to the postseason and making a run like that. There's the benefit of practicing each and every day.
Yeah.
You get 5 more weeks of practice. So not so much for the seniors, but for the underclassmen.
Sure.
So they're 5 weeks ahead of a lot of their opponents of next year. So all of that it goes through. They play another half of season. I think some of the other benefit of going through it in the past is our seniors, at least, even if they not the ones feeling necessarily the pressure or being in the ball game, they get to see what's around it. The distractions around the game, whether it be media or fans or, the pageantry of it all. And when you go in there as a senior, you're a little bit more focused, and now it's your turn to shine, that you don't have to worry about all that. You've seen all that. It's not a novelty to you anymore. So having that experience and having that run, plus you've seen these guys not only experience it as younger players, but as fans growing up, and going to the games, and they may have had cousins or brothers play before them, and they've at least seen it all. So, having been there is definitely an advantage.
Championship game is past some, and you can always look back and say, well, this, that, and the other thing. Would you do anything different than you did in that game if you had another chance?
Well, I think that it's easy to sit and say, boy, we could have, picked up this block, as you start to look through the film. But in the reality of things, I would not, I think our guys did a great job of preparing themselves. Right. I think everything was there, and you figure up until that point, it's an even game, yardage-wise, and even down to the end, the yardage was about an even split everywhere. It was 2 very good teams, battling it out, and just fell short on touches, especially in the second half. I think we may have only had about 27 touches or 25 touches on the offensive side, which,
uncharacteristic.
We'd like to keep a little bit more than that. So, but in the whole setup, I think our guys did a great job of preparing themselves. It was not from lack of preparing or lack of ready to play or any of those kind of things. It just came short on some plays.
Give credit to them, though. They came out. They were there with the defending champs. They were there. They'd been there and done that.
Absolutely.
They did a nice job.
Very good football team. Very physical football team. We knew it going in, and they'd put together a nice run and beat some good teams along the way.
It's really special, though, to be part of that championship scenario. The whole weekend is a really great experience.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is. There's only 14 teams that can experience it each and every year. And obviously everything that surrounds it, is a sense of pride. I think that not only for your school, your program, your alumni, but there becomes a sense of pride for your area.
Yes.
Our guys are extremely proud to represent the Youngstown area, the city of Youngstown. They take a tremendous amount of pride in that. And especially you're playing teams from so far away across the state. There is that sense, and our folks know, our players know, and respect the traditions in this area and the people in this area, and how much the people in this area value high school sports, and our guys represented the Valley well.
I know we're comfortable, I'm sure you guys are as well, about having the championship venue as it is right now in Canton, Mass, and that's going to change for a couple of years since it moves to Ohio State. And I know you guys, you have the opportunity, you go play in a parking lot if you have to.
Right.
But what are your thoughts on going to Columbus for a couple of years, playing in that huge stadium as opposed to playing in a couple of really great high school venues?
Sure. I think that from a selfish point of view, from us in the area, as you mentioned, obviously the proximity to the stadiums is a huge bonus for us, and somewhat of an advantage for us because you don't have to travel very far. You don't have to go through logistics of traveling. I've traveled. I make a lot of road trips to Buffalo, to Columbus, everywhere, overnight trips, and there's an extra added distraction and a whole set of logistics that have to be followed to set up for that. As far as the two stadiums we play out, very historical place, especially Fawcett Stadium. With the Hall of Fame there. I mean, I think that place is really a unique place. Obviously the Hall of Fame game being played there each and every summer. Your players get to see it. The Hall of Fame right next door. All those different things. So, those are two. Those are two perfect setups for the games. Back and forth, down the road, works out pretty well. The switch to Columbus, time will tell. I think that there'll be some young people that'll be excited to go play in the Horseshoe, to play in the stadium, in which obviously a lot of Buckeye fans around get to see play on the field that they see Ohio State players run on and over the years. You won't get the same feel once you're playing in it in a big stadium like that. I've been fortunate enough, we've played in Brown Stadium, we've played all over the place, and in huge stadiums like that, and no matter what you do, you can't fill it up. You're obviously not going to fill Ohio State up, and even with a big crowd where you would feel excited about and you could feel the energy of it all, you would see it would feel an empty shell feeling, with the stadium like that. But time will tell. For us in this area, it's a little longer jaunt down, and I'm not sure how the logistics are going to work in one stadium. 7 games, one stadiums, how they're going to run them, warm-up time, locker room time. All those things are going to be an issue, and I'm sure that they've worked out on paper, but I'm not so sure they understand how things really work, and it'll be interesting. Hopefully we'll be sitting here next year, and I can compare them both to you.
There you go. That would be great, for sure. And you mentioned that, and it was 1989, I believe, we had 3 local teams that played down there for the state championship, and I covered those games, and it was a definite difference in terms of just the aesthetics. As you said, I'm sure it was an exciting thing for the kids to go out and play there, but
very different.
It was.
I viewed as a fan in '85. Mooney played in the state championship there, and in '87, and I was at both games as a youngster, and it was. I mean, you look, and there's a lot of people on both sides, but you look all around you, left to right, and that was before they closed it in, and I think at that time there was a track in between.
Yes.
So
really
it was.
Field,
It didn't give you that same high school feeling that you were used to, being in a obviously smaller stadium with the people on top of you.
Still, though, again, you'll go play wherever you have to.
Yeah, that really doesn't matter, and I think that's part of it too. I think that they feel as they move it there, once people are rolling in it, they're excited about being in the game. They're not going to necessarily, complain about where it's at or what it's at, all those different times. They're excited. They're in the game. We had talked about it before. A lot of these teams, it may be the first time they ever play in the state championship game or experience that. So they're just excited to be there. Obviously with, I think 12 trips to the state finals, for us in our program, we have a little bit bigger measuring stick and we're not necessarily in all of it, and we can look at all the logistics and understand what's easier and what's not.
We're going to take a quick break, and you can hang around, right?
I can't.
PJ Fecko. More with the coach as we continue here on Loose Change. Stick with us.
Bigger smiles, louder cheers, longer talks. Enjoy the possibilities more than ever with Armstrong. Armstrong delivers the latest in television, on-demand, multi-room PVR, high definition. Zoom Internet has the speed and reliability you need for all your devices. And it's all backed by local award-winning customer service to keep you connected. Enjoy the possibilities with Armstrong.
Welcome back to Loose Change with Cardinal Mooney head coach PJ Fecko. And Coach, before we roll into our break, you touched on the word tradition, and you know when it applies to Cardinal Mooney football, I mean it's in bold print. Talk about what that really means and how that feeds into what you guys do.
You know, it's a big part of what our guys understand. The level of expectation and the traditions that they're responsible of upholding. Of all of the former Cardinals that had gone before us, and there are some really great ones. I mean, there's a list of historic folks that are well documented on the college national scene, the NFL, and so on. Our guys understand that level of expectation, and they are challenged each and every year, and not by a single phrase or something we say, that just by the how the program works, that they need to uphold those, and they need to figure a way to raise the bar higher for the next group to come. So they meet those level of expectations. This team did a great job of that, and we've had many teams over the years that have do that. But they understand. They've had fathers that have played, cousins that have played, uncles that have played, brothers that have played. So there's that part of it. There's that sense of it. And then you could just see the tradition, on the walls in the locker room of all the people. And then we're fortunate that all of our folks come back. It is constant. Players from the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s that are back. They come and they're part of it. They come down, they see everyone, they talk to them. Obviously we have the Camp of Champions in the summer where, Bob Stoops, Bo Pelini, all the Stoops brothers, everybody comes back in, and has a camp, and it's kind of a football reunion of sorts, and everybody comes in for that. But it's really a unique place. It's very hard to describe. But there is a tremendous amount of tradition. You see it, with the records of anything, 8 state championships, 12 appearances, all these different wins and all that. But it goes much deeper, than just all of that. It's a sense of pride, and down to the way we apply Cardinals on our helmets before the first game, and all those different kind of little things, the victory bells, and we have mass every week, and then we have a chapel by a priest before games. It's really a unique place.
Absolutely. And of course you experienced that as a player, and you come from an athletic family. Your sister Pandora is a great golfer, and talk about that. You're up, how you got into football as a young man, and how that all evolved for you. Yeah,
it was, I did. I came from a very athletic family, and it starts with my father. My father was a really good athlete, a really good golfer, and
I've seen him out caddying.
Yeah, he was. And all of us, my sisters or myself, we've never taken a lesson from anyone other than my father, and obviously, I've had my oldest sister, was a pretty good athlete in the right and cheerleading, and went on to YSU being a cheerleader in that. My second sister was a well-documented athlete, in all sports, in softball and basketball and golf. Went on to play for the University of Notre Dame in golf, and then on to the Futures Tour after that. And then I was, fortunate enough to play football and basketball at Mooney, and then, still mess around with golf now, and involved a little bit in football now. But it all stems from my dad. I think that he was never a coach except to us. He was constantly instilling all of those things that that we as coaches are trying to instill in our teams, the expectations that need to be met. He didn't sugarcoat things. There were plenty of times that when he was teaching us to play golf, my sister and I, we would, there would be the three of us walking down the fairway. One would be on the right, one would be on the left, and one would be in the middle, and nobody was talking to each other. He was a pretty demanding guy in it all. And that's what made us good. We understood that there was a certain level of expectations. You didn't need to be patted on the back for doing something you were supposed to do. And, he instilled that kind of me, and, I've been fortunate, coming from a great family and a place where athletics was a big part of our family. Being successful in turning that around onto the youngsters today.
Talk about what it was like to play for Coach Butchie. Can you do an imitation? like everybody else.
Everybody can do it.
Everybody can do it.
That's right. Everybody
we'll let you
can
go
do
on
that.
that one.
Everybody can do that. I have a unique. I have a unique situation with Coach Butchie. I played for him.
Right.
I coached for him, and I took over for him. So, I'm in a situation where I've seen just about every angle of Coach Butchie in the football world.
Yeah, that's true.
He was a very demanding individual. Again, a lot like my father in a sense. Coach was is somebody that demanded and expected a certain thing, a certain level of expectation. And he wasn't going to, pat you on the back. He wasn't going to, that's your job, that's what you're supposed to do type thing. So in it, he was a great motivator. He got every mile out of every player. He really did. He forced players to reach their full potential. And really a great football coach and really a great guy. It's really kind of funny to watch him now. And, you played for him and then you coached for him. He was pretty darn demanding there and then took over for him. And now as you deal with him, now when he's around the program, he laughs and he jokes with all the kids in the locker room here or there, and everybody laughs. And some of the assistants who had played for him and coached with him, everybody sits back and like, boy, these kids have no idea. Now he's like everybody's grandfather.
Yeah,
Everything's fun, and But he was an intense individual. I mean, there was no during the football season. It was like a switch, and there was no messing around. He was intense on the field and off the field, in meetings and in film work and everything. I mean, it was intense, and it paid off. I mean, here's a guy with over 300 wins, 4 state championships, and decades of success, and somebody that is really a neat person. It was neat to have him as a coach, to work alongside of him, and it's neat today to have him as a friend. We have a special relationship, and we've grown very close over the years, and it's really a neat perspective.
When you took over for him as head coach, what was that like for you at that time? What were your thoughts and your emotions?
Well, I think I was too young and inexperienced to really figure it all out. I was 25 when I took over for him. I sure as heck didn't know what I was getting into, or maybe I did and just didn't care about all the pressure and stuff that supposedly is around it. I was determined and coaching, with Coach all those years was to become my own person and everything. Yeah. I mean, obviously, you have to in some capacity. You're going to take learning experiences. I have different styles of coaching that obviously Coach Butchie's a big part of it. Other assistant coaches that I've played for, other assistant coaches that I've worked with, my father, all these different things. They just kind of all come together, but you have to take your own path.
Right.
And Coach Butchie was a big part of that. I mean, Coach Butchie, the day he walked out of coaching, that was it. There was never, hey, we never sat down and would go over X's and O's, or he would come in and go, hey, now if I had a question or something like that, he'd be more than happy to answer. But never once, never would come down on the field and look over your shoulder, none of that kind of stuff. So that part of it made it easy, in that sense. You didn't have to worry about, geez, this isn't the offense he would run, or we would, you know what I mean? It was your, it was your program now, and you had to think. But the key was that all of those traditions we talked about, all those different things, they were able to fold over. So none of that stuff changed. Now, how we line up the things, you know, the defensive philosophies, offensive philosophies may change and tinker and they move, but that's kind of been the unique thing, and that's been what we've been able to stabilize in our success. You know, you're talking about a program, you know, you see streaks of football programs across the state that win state championships in streaks. We have them in the 70s, 80s, and 2000s, which is kind of unique in that sense, and it's because of that stable traditions and the coaching that, you know, that's been around. You know, so it is it's unique.
How has your, I know you got into that, the thought, man, I've got some big shoes to fill here, had to cross your mind. And when you got started, there was a couple, a rough season along the way, but you stuck with it. And the thing I've noticed, you know, covering your games is how businesslike your approach is. I really like that. And have you changed or tweaked your coaching style or approach along the way to this point?
You know, it's we got off to a rocky start. You know, we were 5-5.
Yeah.
And then we go 0-10.
Yeah.
Then we go 5-5. You know, so now we're starting to see now that 5-5, that third year, that was just that 5-5 probably should have been 7-3 somewhere along. So we started to see, you know, that we were starting to go in. It was a changeover. It was a changeover in staff. It was a changeover in systems. It was, you know, it wasn't any kid's fault. It wasn't any this, wasn't any that. It was just the reality of it. And you know, then we made 04, 5, 6, and 7. We're in the state finals 4 years in a row. We win. We go 2-2 in it. But the interesting part was, I wouldn't. It sounds silly to say I wouldn't have changed it.
Right.
Because I like to see that struggling part is a big part of where we're at today. That struggling part, I got to identify as a young person what everything's really about, what people are about, what players are about, what parents are about. You know, it was a saying everybody kidded, you know, after we made the runs and won state titles, you know, they went from chasing me down the street to naming streets after me. But when they were chasing me down the streets, you get to figure out, you know, who's phony, who's not, who's on board, who's not. You know, and, you know, if you have success right out there and everybody's patting you on the back, you think you're the greatest guy in the world, you think, you know, you come a little bit complacent. You know, I'm a person that likes to shut out my program from the outside world. I'm not in it for an ego. I'm not in it for personal gain. And those things taught me that. And then we've been successful and you know, been to a bunch of state finals, been to 7 of them and won 4 of them. You know, so I'm comfortable in the sense that, you know, I have some leeway with that success where I could do it how I want. And along that way, each and every time, figuring ways how to get better. I'm a person that there's got to be a way to do things better.
Well, there you are, Coach. Unfortunately, we're out of time. We can go on, and hopefully we'll be able to do that again. Talk about a state championship. But thank you so much, and good luck the rest of the way. Cardinal Mooney head football coach PJ Fecko. It's loose change. We'll be back to wrap it up.
Home phone service from Armstrong. Armstrong Telephone delivers reliability you can't get with a cell phone. All you're calling is one low monthly price. No confusing rate plan. Your favorite calling features are included. Check out the exclusive online management tools. Set call forwarding, do not disturb, and more. You can even have your voicemail sent to your email. For great savings, bundle television, telephone, and internet. Armstrong. One wire, infinite possibilities.
Hey, that's going to do it for today's program. Thanks so much to PJ Fecko. For Greg Roden, I'm Jim Evans. It's Loose Change. Check us next time.